will bring to this neighborhood a non-stop talk alternative. A constant barrage of eye-opening conspiracies and ad-libbed innuendo. Too bad there's only 24 hours in a day. Or is there? Give me liberty or give me death, but only the kind of liberty you find in a controlled, well-regulated society. Don't kill people. The government does.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to TSP TV live on, I think, a Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? Let me know. Once again, no comments in the chat during the intro. You cats got your tongue, ladies and gentlemen, that may be watching on YouTube. Luckily enough, we are on YouTube tonight. Yesterday we did try and multi-stream over 3 platforms. YouTube wasn't letting that happen, unfortunately, but we did simultaneously stream on Twitch and Facebook yesterday to very low viewing figures, but anyway, nonetheless, here we are in another TSP live endeavor, as we do try to have a little bit of fun and informative content within these live shows now. So anyway guys, I don't know if or not you can see that thumbnail now, and still nobody's saying anything in the chat. So 6 people are watching now, it says. So say hello, 6 people, if you want to, or maybe you're waiting to make a dramatic entrance yourself. But anyway, Frequency Wars, welcome to tonight's episode, where we will be stepping back in time a little bit at some point. If or not this will be the good kind of nostalgia, or the disturbing what's the word, foreshadowy kind of nostalgia, who knows. Bonsoir Monsieur Etienne 21 dudis. I don't know how to say 12 in French. I did try my best there to be a little bit cosmopolitan and multilingual. So we do got ourselves a little bit of hello Nancy. Now let me ask you, hi there maiden, glad to see you. We do have some of the wenchmen in the house tonight. So no one watching on Facebook, nobody watching on Twitch as of yet, but so far, hang on, let me do the thing. Let me see if I can do this. So we are currently, hang on, let me get that into place. Okay, currently on YouTube. We are also currently on if it comes up, Facebook, and we are also on Twitch. There you go. I kind of put it at a little angle. Sometimes I do like angling things, as you may notice in some of my thumbnails. But anyway, we've had a little bit of fun and games. Who wants to see the tumbling turds for Ship Video Productions before we do go on any further? I should actually start. There you go. There are the tumbling turbs. I think you can actually add those to favourites. I almost pressed end then. That would be disastrous, seeing as we do for the first time successfully have a multi stream. I just realised something, guys. Thrift Fan Fireplace wasn't on, and I have knocked over a card. So how is everybody doing? Hope you are doing good today, and with all that is going on and everything that is happening in the world. You got to keep on keeping on, and I'm keeping on by trying to make videos and put presentations together, do some editing, learning and try and improve my basic fundamental knowledge of editing to try and produce some kind of viewable, maybe almost entertaining, but more importantly informative little presentations, as we do try to bring you an all improved, all new look TSP TV live show here at YouTube. And we are also trying to spread the branches just a little bit and kind of see if we can dabble into a little bit of multi-streaming on Facebook and Twitch. It doesn't really cost anything more to do this, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. But we have gained a couple of Twitch people and Twitch followers that aren't watching now, but hello to everybody who is joining. But it is a little bit nice to have the regularity and the familiarity of the Thrift family, just like kind of any family, I guess. We have our ups and downs, and a lot of us are in a lot of pain one way or another, either psychological pain or physical pain or emotional pain. Some of us are feeling a mixture of all of the above, with a little bit of pinched anxiety with the way the world and the globe is going, and a little bit of what I've been trying to do over these last few live shows, where I've been trying to sort of improve things and put together informative presentation, is try to unravel the clue of what exactly is going on in the world right now. That's a little bit disturbing to hear. Another hurricane, that's about like 3 you've had so far, Nancy, you poor little thing down there in the bayou. But anyway, we are trying to unravel the secrets together, and sometimes why I do get a little bit sort of maybe upset or probably frustrated when sort of my videos of this nature or my streams don't seem to get the audience or viewers that they do. Maybe I've lost your interest, maybe you're not really interested in these kind of things, maybe I've lost my audience a little bit, but the more important thing is that I'm trying to unravel the secrets of what's going on in the world, in a little bit, I guess, kind of the Luke Skywalker syndrome that I have, his influences growing up as a child. You should know by now I am a little bit of a geek at heart, but the Luke Skywalker syndrome, you know, we single-handedly want to bring down the evil Imperial Galactic Empire, single-handedly, and rescue beautiful princesses, but just hope that they aren't your sister. But anyway, that's a little bit maybe of my sort of motive or fueling me to kind of unravel these mysteries. But I have done a lot of research. I'm a geek. I've sort of paid a lot of attention to sort of fiction and real events in their relativity to each other, and Fiction Decoded is something, as you know, that I do have a little bit of a knack for. But what we're trying to do right now, guys, is like the opposite of that and decode reality, because reality right now needs some fucking decoding. I think you will agree, because you know, we've got sides and divisions on all fronts, and sort of, if you have been watching along these last few live streams, the theme is very, very similar, that we are being forced to be divided against each other. And the thrift store message that you should killer. So glad to see you, man, long time no see. Let me try and do my K. There we go, it's kind of a K, but that was for you. Mike is giving feedback. I'm very, very sorry if it is. Some of these things are indeed I believe algorithmic behavioral patterns rather than technical problems, and I have sort of tried to explain this a little bit in some of my recent videos, and I don't want to sort of get into it too much now, but a lot of what I'm talking about now is we really need to understand who the true enemy is. Now, we understand there is an elite cabal of bankers and industrialized, militarized industrial complex CEOs that really are pulling the string around the world, influencing politicians, and then as it filters down into society, some of these people are funding fragments of society that are uprising, looting, rioting, protesting, Antifa, BLM, and maybe even fueling anti-lockdown protesters, and maybe even sort of giving out symbology and identification to those people in the movement, and sort of targeting these people out in something with sort of communist takeovers of country. When the Soviet bloc was expanding, it was a 20-year kind of process. We are going to talk about this at a future date, but what these people did is they saturated a nation with infiltrators, and these infiltrators infiltrated at all levels of society. And sort of protests don't really sort of truly start at grassroots levels and gain momentum like some of the protests and stuff we are seeing now. So are these protests, and as I said a couple of times before, that just because we think we are woke, let's not put ourselves above being controlled and manipulated and maybe led down misinformative rabbit holes, because we quite often do. And as I'm saying, these infiltrators can infiltrate at every single level, and all we're trying to do now is unravel these secrets, kind of put all the sort of distractions of what is going on with elections, with COVID and quarantines, and even possibly hurricanes, although that might well be connected to everything that is being kind of put together in this series of videos. So there's electronic magnetic frequencies are being used against us, is what I truly believe, and all of this kind of is a little bit relevant to the symptoms of COVID-19. Now, if you do look up the symptoms of electromagnetic frequencies, you will notice that they are startlingly resemblant to that of COVID-19. Headaches, fevers, aches, pains, lethargic, not feeling very, very energetic at all. And that is a lot of symptoms that I have been feeling, and some of you have also expressed that you've been feeling in similarities. Now, the other thing I've also sort of been experiencing is a little bit of forgetfulness, forgetting things like, Jesus Christ, guys, I forgot the alphabet the other day. I got to Q and I'm like, what comes next? I'm like, I'm only 50 years old, why don't I know my ABCs? But it took me a little while to get there, but I did get there eventually. And even today, a couple of times I've gone upstairs to make my coffee, and the first time I sort of put the coffee, put the filter in, put the pot under, forgot to put water. And then just before I did the show, I did sort of the same, made the coffee, but in this time I forgot to put the coffee in. I put the water in the pot and everything. In silly little things like this, I'm struggling with. And not to mention that a couple of weeks ago I just was a blank. I just almost could not think. Now, what is causing this is my greater thirst for knowledge and to gain a greater understanding. Is why am I being affected like this? Why am I behaving like this? Why is everything sort of so difficult for me to manage right now? And now I understand that, you know, I am dealing with a little bit of grief, depression, and PTSD symptoms that I am very sort of aware of and trying to sort of combat them the best I can. But there are some things that are almost becoming a little bit debilitating, and I am not alone in that. Now, I've been scratching the surface over the period of the pandemic is what the cover-up, what is hiding behind the cover-up of COVID-19, because this is the big distraction. It's being force-fed down our throats. We can't get away from it on social media. We can't get away from it on mainstream media, and almost everything you see on your news feeds now is either from one side or another side. People aren't even kind of sort of sharing their own innermost thoughts, their lunches or anything. It's just a bombardment of memes, and memes led me to see a behavioral pattern. It led me to the behavioral looking into memetics and how memetics in society can be implemented into social media and virtual society, which is where most of us are living now, within a virtual society. And this is what social media provides for us, a social media, a virtual society in which we can liaise and act. And part of the destabilization of a nation with communist infiltrators is they kind of eradicate local social interaction, so it stops people talking and communicating about what's going on, and then provides them with alternative platforms. They infiltrate the media and such forth and start presenting a different narrative, which is something we've seen in real times even before the COVID. But the COVID-19, I do believe that many people right now, you, me, everybody on your friends list, is under some kind of electromagnetic mind control. Maybe we're not being brainwashed, maybe we're not exactly all Manchurian Karens, but we are being affected one way or another, I believe, by electromagnetic frequencies. Now, in my research over the weeks, we looked at the Manchurian Karens some months back, and then we did electromagnetic mind control a couple of weeks ago. We looked at some stuff about the sentient world simulation, how sort of really at the verge and the dawn of social media, and when people really did start going out sharing their personal everyday lives, the sentient world simulation went active, and this is what could be referred to as the beast. This is where all of our data ends up, and it gets run through algorithmic scenarios and simulations, and they know exactly how we are going to behave, and they know exactly how to target us with content that will make us behave in a certain way. And is the behavioral pattern we're seeing on social media side is this part of the electromagnetic mind control. Something else we've all looked at or also looked at over the period of the COVID pandemic is the possibility that they are implementing the final pieces and stages for Project Bluebeam. And again, I do believe that COVID-19 is a cover screen for something, you know, like the Wizard of Oz guys. The plug is all the way in, killer. I don't know, but what I'm trying to say, buddy, and where I'm getting at is I did get a little bit long-winded there. I can try it out the mic. Is this any better? I'll try and go micless and see if that helps. But I'm putting this information together on an artificial intelligent device that is designed to collect data from me. So, you know, when I'm doing my searches for stuff, I don't know if this is better or not. Bueno, this better? Okay, if that's better, wait, softer. I'll try and talk a little bit louder if I can, and try and get a little bit closer to the camera. How does that sound? I don't like to be this close because the ugly mug. So let me try and hide myself a little bit more if I can. Is that better, killer? Let me know. But what was I saying? So I'm using an artificial intelligent device in order to put together these presentations. So let me try and get a little bit back. It does kind of freak me out. a bit there. Yeah, it is going to be one of those nights, and this is what I'm getting at, Killer. That is these sound issues. Is this electromagnetic, or is this artificial virtual interference? Is the algorithm doing everything it can to make the message I'm trying to give be as you know what they say about silencing the truth, that maybe I'm speaking the truth, so maybe that is why the audio issues have been happening more often than not lately. Because something you have to realize is, a little while ago there was never ever an issue with my volume. I never ever got comments about how quiet it was or anything, and I'm desperately trying. I mean, this is the best mic that I've got, so if or not this one, you can hear me better or clearer than you could before. The mic, I guess what you mean, plug the mic in. I don't know, as I said, I'm trying to do the best I can with what I've got, and all I've got now is this cheap $2 microphone from China. So as I said, let's come back a little bit further and see if that is any better for you or not. All right, so yeah, the mic's better. Is that what you mean, Nancy? It's better with mic. So as I said, guys, is this interference, is the volume issue, is this being caused by the artificial intelligent algorithm that resides within my computer? And am I a targeted individual in the sense that the content I produce and bring out and talk about on these channels, or on my channel or on my Facebook or whatever, has that caused my algorithm to implement censorship tactics to prevent me from spreading the message? I don't know, but I am trying to overcome it the best I can and work with what I got. Maybe you guys could perhaps listen with closed captions. That is an option I think you can do on YouTube, although that may not make it as pleasurable, but still, they're trying to silence the truth is what I'm telling you guys, because some of my videos, the audio is absolutely perfect and I don't do anything to change. There isn't even any audio settings on my phone where I can make the microphone any stronger or any less powerful, right? I can only kind of adjust the volume of what I've already got recorded, and you can usually only make it quieter. But anyway, what we do needs to go, guys. We've got 10 people watching. Hello everybody on YouTube right now. Thank you for tuning in. Double digits is always a little bit of an achievement to get, because we do seem to be getting hello, no worries, Jeep, good to see you. And I really don't know if maybe it is exactly, like I said, a phone issue, a mic issue, a technical issue, or what. But stick with it, guys. And the disappointing thing is that unfortunately I did manage to find some very relevant content. Well, just look at that. I said we had 10 people watching and we're down to 6 now. But I did manage to find some very relevant content with regard to what we're talking about from the 1980s. But that is stuff that was VHS recorded from a TV, right? This was way back in the day. Again, I don't really know what the buzz is. If there's a buzz, like I'm not hearing the buzz my end. Is the algorithm putting the buzz in, is what I'm telling you, because I'm talking about how electronics are controlling us. Okay, cool. Sorry, I don't know, because as I say, guys, I don't really hear what you're seeing. I can only take control of stuff on my side. But this is what I'm saying, is our artificial intelligence cellular devices, are they controlling and manipulating us in more ways than one? And are they manipulating the content that I produce? Who knows? But we do need to step back to 1985, guys, because somehow all the things that have pushed together have some similarities and relevance to 1985. For instance, some of the footage we're going to see in a little while that I did manage to find for you is from 1985 on CNN, and it is exactly what I'm telling you about how the governments and militaries, both Russian and American, were developing mind control technology and weaponry, and how they can use it against us. Yesterday we talked about how in the 90s, in 1993 in Rwanda, they used or carried out an operation called Crimson Mist, where they used electromagnetic frequencies and turned it upon two opposing tribes that they'd already stirred up some kind of internal conflict. They'd already taken out the president and all the heads of state in an organized plane crash. While the world was in, or while Rwanda was in complete chaos and people were looking for answers, confused and scared, they then implemented Crimson Mist, which was an operation to use electromagnetic frequencies that then led to the genocide of over 1 million Rwandans. Now, we're at each other's throats, masks, no masks, Trumps, no masks, Antifa, not Antifa, all this. In another meme that I've noticed a lot circulating, you may have seen it as well, this week, is about the ants. If you take some red ants and some black ants and you put them in a jar and then you shake the jar, the ants will start attacking each other. But the thing is, they're mad at each other, but they don't know that it's whoever's shaking the jar is the real enemy here, right? But okay, you're jumping in your truck. Sorry, I just noticed a comment out of my mind there. Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked, lost my train of thought, which is another part of the reason why I've been putting together the presentations, because it's easier to kind of keep things on track a little bit like that. But anyway, all of this technology has been around for a long time when we're talking about Rwanda. So here we are right now in current contemporary 2020. There are lots of factions and divides. Am I right, guys? You see this on your Facebook, you see this in society. It's everywhere. I have sort of an uncontrollable sometimes sense of fear and dread, and sort of almost don't want to go out. I get lots of headaches, lots of aches and pains. Some of you too may be experiencing this, and this is the result of the electromagnetic frequency. But back in 1985, and lots of things are very relevant in 1985, because of this first piece of footage that we will be seeing in a little while from CNN that explains the military's intent then, and they're talking about warfare for the 21st century. Here we are in the 21st century. But cast your minds back to 1985, guys. That's what we're going to try and get to. No worries. Glad, because it's a very good I actually do have a little piece of music in a little while that we're going to listen to before the presentation. It is supposed to have soothing and calming frequencies. If or not that does help, I don't know, but things like that could be a good help. Less time on social media. But back in 95, there were 3 particular movies of interest. Back to the Future, 88 miles an hour, time travel, Mandela effect kind of was introduced, a predictive programming about 9/11 at the Twin Pines, Lone Pines Mall. We also had a movie called My Science Project, which is where I took the thumbnail of from now. It's very similar. These movies were all very similar themed, and in My Science Project, an individual found a piece of government technology in a scrapyard while he's out going to buy a new car, and this piece of technology opened up portals to different dimensions. But that piece of technology also attached itself to the local power grid and took power from the grid. Remember, we're all surrounded by power lines everywhere and frequencies. So it was a frequency thing, but it did cause time jumps. And another one was weird science. And again, although they replicated, and again, replicated is something that is being done now. Our thoughts are being replicated meme from meme, and the things we share are indeed becoming part of our reprogramming, right? But weird science, they replicated a woman, and there was also some portal interference, and of course in Back to the Future they went back, changed some things, come back, there was an alternative reality. But back in our real 1985, this was going on. We're also at a Cold War, and this is when all of a sudden CNN did a very special little documentary on electromagnetic mind control. Now, another thing that happened in 1985 within fiction is something I've told you about lots and lots of times, in something that is now very much a theme and a little bit of a part of how TSP TV looks. The Watchmen. And Watchmen took place in an ulterior 1985, where the richest, most powerful industrial man on the planet, Ozymandias, whichever way you choose to say it is up to you. But this guy represents the New World Order and the industrial militarized complex, right? And he has media companies, movie companies, tech companies, medical companies, pharmaceutical companies, newspaper, toy. He pretty much controls a little bit of everything on the planet. And he come in Ozymandias is back, I think, in Greek mythology. He was the man who wanted to rule the world. And there are some similarities to Adrian Veidt, who was Ozymandias, and Donald Trump. But I do keep promising I will do a Watchmen special one day. But within the Watchmen, and this is where the electromagnetic pulse, Project Bluebeam, everything kind of falls into place for me. And what I'm trying to do with these presentations is try to make it fall into place for you. As I said, I'm not telling you this is what you believe. I'm not telling you 100% this is what's happening. No outside knowledge has come to my way. No secret agencies or whistleblowers have given me this information. This is my observations. But in 1985's The Watchmen, the end game to obtain to become ruler of the world and achieve a one world order under the Ozymandias banner was he created a false flag psychological operation, staged alien invasion. And not only that, the alien was a psychic alien that fried the minds of 5 million New Yorkers. Bear that in mind with everything we are going to see in there. So Project Bluebeam is all about using electromagnetic frequencies in order to make the population believe that they are seeing things. Voice of God technology, thought to skull or text to skull technology exists. Holographic imagery exists. Electromagnetic frequency weapons exist. Weather manipulation exists. All this shit exists and real, and all of this is being used right now in modern time, in real time. At this given second, we are being bombarded by these frequencies that are leading us to behave and believe things that may not necessarily be true, and we're not exactly feeling ourselves anymore. But the end game of The Watchmen, as I said, does involve, it's a spoiler for you, but please guys, pick up a copy and read it, or if not, there is a playlist on my channel where you can watch the animated comic adaptation. Very, very good, beautiful piece of art actually in many ways. But the alien invasion was staged, and they used a teleportation system, and Ozymandias, Adrian Veidt, he had a think tank put away on a special island that could or could not have been Antarctica, where he got the best Hollywood directors, the best script writers, the best scientists, the best special effects guys. Everybody worked on what they believed was going to be a big movie. Once they completed the project and they had this big special effect, it was a fake alien, but they did manage to open dimensional portals so that they could teleport it from the island location to New York City. And when they dropped it on New York City, it let out a huge psychic screech. And it wasn't a psychic screech, it was used by electromagnetic frequencies and killed 5 million people in a second, a little bit like putting something in a microwave. But anyway, The Watchmen was never actually a show until recently, Nancy. It was a comic book, but they did in the sort of 2000s, early 2000s, they did do a sort of cartoony comic book adaptation, 12 parts, about 6 hours long to watch it in its entirety, but very, very worth it. But that's what I'm saying, guys, that back in 1985, there was a lot of information within fiction that was suggesting what is going on right now in real life. And not only that, within 1985, there was also real life reporting on CNN about exactly what I'm talking about now. So guys, buckle up. I've got some stuff prepared. I don't know if this is going to be cool or not, because we're going to rev ourselves up to 988 miles an hour. We're going to make sure the flux capacitor is set for 1985, and we're going to head back 2. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I was going to do a big sort of Back to the Future type thing there, because that is a movie that we have mentioned and is very important to me. So there is a little bit of Back to the Future for you. Hopefully you did hear that. And this is tonight's presentation, guys.
Scientists have succeeded in creating limited types of artificial lightning, and some think that these could be the forerunners of a that the Soviets seem to be ahead in a number of areas, and especially in RF weapons.
We are behind the Soviet Union in directed energy weapons based on 60 gigahertz microwave beams.
Dr. Bass and others feel the most likely form of Soviet RF weaponry would be high-powered microwaves, similar to a focused, ultra-high-intensity radar beam. It would literally cook humans and knock out computers and electronic surveillance and communications gear. An operational RF weapon, relatively cheap and reusable, could devastate sophisticated and expensive war machinery. The $20 million F-16 fighter, for example, is totally controlled through electronic sensors and computers. With no manual flight controls, the plane would literally fall out of the sky after being hit with a high-intensity pulse of microwave radiation. Scientists say that microwaves and other types of RF pulses operating at specific frequencies or windows can be transmitted with little or no loss of power. Machines known as gyrotrons can produce the massive pulses needed to drive these devices, and it's believed that the Soviet Union has a 3 to 5 year lead in this technology. Over the past year, CNN has repeatedly asked the Department of Defense and the Air Force about radio frequency weapons. After much resistance, DoD finally said that the subject was too sensitive to discuss. In my next report, unexplained cloud-like phenomena, which may be evidence of a Soviet breakthrough in RF technology. Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments. This is a Soviet LiDAR machine. It transmits low-energy radio pulses between 0 and 100 cycles per second. In the Soviet Union, LiDARs have been used for years to tranquilize psychiatric patients without physical contact. This sound, which is received by shortwave radios in the United States, is generated by another Soviet radio frequency device. It is known as the woodpecker because of its tapping noise. It is broadcast by a number of high-powered radio transmitters operating deep in the Soviet Union since July 4th, 1976. Though the official Defense Department explanation of the woodpecker is that it is an over-the-horizon radar designed to track U.S. missile launches, some scientists suspect that the woodpecker is designed to interfere with human brain function.
As far as I'm concerned, the potential that this has for producing a direct psychoactive effect upon the total American population is there. Has never been disproven.
Dr. Robert Becker is a pioneer in the field of bioeffects of electromagnetism.
The signal range within which the woodpecker operates is that which has been reported by many investigators to produce a tranquilizing effect upon animals.
We are just incredibly sensitive to these magnetic stimuli.
Dr. Bob Beck, a PhD in nuclear engineering, has done extensive research into electromagnetic effects on humans.
The signal was permeating power grids in the United States. It was being picked up by power lines, re-radiated. It was coming into the homes on the light circuits.
I was surprised after coming here that the influence of electromagnetic fields was almost completely ignored here.
Dr. Larissa Valenskaya was heavily involved in Soviet electromagnetic research before being allowed to emigrate to the United States. She told CNN about Soviet research in electromagnetic effects.
They demonstrated theoretically and also demonstrated experimentally that low frequency, low energy electromagnetic fields also can possess biological influence, biological efficiency, because any field not only carries energy but also carries information.
She stated that the research was carried out on orders from the Soviet government.
Of course, the military were extremely interested in this potential of remote influence.
Is the United States military working in the field of electronic mind control? Officially, the Department of Defense will not comment because the subject area is, quote, too sensitive. But CNN has learned from this government scientist, who did not want to be identified, that a Navy laboratory conducted research into the use of an RF device for counterterrorism and special operations.
It's possible to entrain a certain percentage of a population, apparently, with weak magnetic fields.
The study also showed that RF signals could dissolve certain types of rat brain cells at a distance, causing disorientation and nausea. According to the scientist, even though the program was successful, the government never followed up on it. Dr. James Frazier did electromagnetic research for the U.S. Air Force for many years. At one time, he proposed a battlefield RF weapons system.
You could make an antenna that would be carryable by a helicopter, and that this could be expected to produce a wide variety of symptoms actually by humans who happen to be standing in the beam.
According to Dr. Fraser, the Air Force never followed up. At Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, another RF weapons concept is nicknamed the brain bomb. According to the book Star Warriors, the brain bomb would focus a nuclear blast into a huge pulse of low-frequency RF energy that would stun huge numbers of troops. Apparently, it too has not yet been funded. The Department of Defense will not comment about Soviet RF weapons, or if American RF weapons development is going forward. However, experts interviewed by CNN say that the Soviets are apparently ahead and could exploit that lead in a surprise strategic move, a move that could have grave consequences for the United States. From Washington, this is Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments. This is a Tesla coil. It was invented some 90 years ago, but now a growing number of experts in the United States feel that it may form the basis of a new generation of Soviet weapons. They are known as radio frequency, or RF weapons, because they operate in the radio frequency spectrum. Their existence is noted in this U.S. Department of Defense publication, which says the Soviets could use them to destroy components of missiles, to interfere with radar and other electronic systems, and even to alter human mind functions. The concept of RF weaponry was predicted at the turn of the century by Nikola Tesla, an American who had emigrated from Yugoslavia. He is best remembered as the man who invented alternating current electricity. In 1899, Tesla built this giant coil which produced 10 million volts of artificial lightning. From it, he theorized the possibility of death rays. This and many other of his ideas about the physics of electricity were ridiculed by the scientific establishment.
Pure science is not a sure thing. You can't predict what's going to work out and what's not going to work out.
Robert Golka, a research scientist, built a replica of the Tesla coil about 80 years later. Golka was trying to produce a phenomenon known as ball lightning. He also used the Tesla coil to conduct testing for the U.S. Air Force.
What I was doing was setting in maybe 5-foot-long models of advanced fighter aircraft, and we would want to try to find out which part of the airplane was more vulnerable to lightning strikes, whether it was the wingtip or the canard, where the pilot sat.
These experiments could also demonstrate the effect of the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear blast, and Golka says the effect of RF weapons as well. Golka thinks that Tesla's theory that electromagnetic power could be transmitted through the Earth and its atmosphere without wires is a key element in the Soviet Union's work on RF weapons. Tesla's novel weapons theories were generally ignored in the United States. Nikola Tesla died in 1943, and after the Second World War, all his papers and effects were shipped to his native Yugoslavia, where they were enshrined in a museum. Some say that that museum proved to be a gold mine for Soviet weapons scientists.
We haven't even formally, so far as I know, to ourselves admitted that these weapons exist in the hands of the Soviet Union.
Weapons analyst Tom Bearden, a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel, is among a small group of scientists and engineers who believe that the Soviets have perfected Tesla's ideas and are developing radio frequency weapons on a scale unimagined in this country.
There have been a series of tests of these kinds of weapons, apparently, for a number of years. For example, airliners from Iran, before the fall of the Shah, saw deep within the Soviet Union very large, glowing spherical balls of light which started out small and then expanded to very large size, which apparently these kinds of weapons were used in an anti-ballistic missile defense role.
Bearden believes that these satellite photographs are of mysterious non-nuclear explosions near an uninhabited island in the East Siberian Sea, and that they are discharges from an RF weapon that uses intersecting energy beams called scalars.
In doing so, you can create, for example, either an electromagnetic explosion at a distance, or you can create an electromagnetic implosion at a distance, the extraction of energy from a distant point. This would look like a cold explosion, so to speak. And I believe the thing on April the 9th, 1984, off the coast of Japan, that involved several 747 jet airliners, I believe that incident was a test of a cold explosion weapon. At least it met all the characteristics.
Pilot Doug Happ was in one of the 5 airline crews that saw an incredibly large cloud rising from the moonlit overcast below.
it looked like a plate coming up through an overcast, but it just kept expanding. And as it got higher, it was apparent that you could see right through the middle of it, so it looked like a big smoke ring. At the time that we first noticed this cloud, we weren't sure what to do, and we took no evasive action because we didn't know which way to go. And I think eventually we either ran through it or it completely engulfed us.
Happ says when his flight reached Anchorage, Alaska, it was checked for radioactive contamination. None was found. Dr. James Fraser has done extensive research in electromagnetic effects for the U.S. Air Force.
It could be due to a strong electromagnetic beam, but we don't know that. They can also be caused by chance thermal gradients. We've had for several years studies of clear air turbulence, for instance, which have produced this kind of disruption. The people who cited those are experienced pilots and should have been familiar with that kind of event, and it's apparent it was something outside their experience.
There have been a number of times when Soviet technological surprise has upset the strategic balance. In 1948, the Soviets detonated an A-bomb years before it was thought possible. In 1957, the Soviets stunned the world by launching Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. And in 1976, the Soviets were discovered to have been embarked upon a program to build particle beam weapons, a discovery which led 5 years later to America's Star Wars program. In each case, the United States was able to regain the balance. But this time, with radio frequency weapons, some scientists feel that the Soviet lead may be permanent. In my next report, how radio frequency devices can be used as weapons against the human mind. Chuck DeCaro, CNN, on special assignment.
Can turn off the propaganda by turning off their radio or television. The ultimate weapon in the info war would be so secret, so invisible, so undetectable, you would never know your mind was under attack. At Laurentian University in Ontario, Canada, a young student is about to undergo one of the strangest experiences of her life.
dentist, Mark George, said he could make my thumb twitch. Jeez, he does. Oh, that was nice. Using a map of the brain, he can zap the area that controls a specific body part, like my toe. Oh, wow. Is that I stroked a little too much? A little bit, yeah, it's a little much. 1, 2, 3, 4. The wand can even affect someone's speech. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And once the pulse is removed, 25, 26, everything goes back to normal. 30. It's sort of a remarkable thing that one can put something over somebody's head and modify the way they behave. Wow, the wand works by producing a powerful magnetic pulse. It doesn't look like a lot, but the magnetic field that it generates is about the strength of an MRI machine, of a very strong MRI machine. Since electricity and magnetism are really just two forms of the same thing, a magnet can affect the electrical signals in your brain. Now this is your brain. It's basically an electric web of billions of neurons wired together. When a strong magnetic pulse hits these neurons, it alters their electric current. The process is called transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. Electricity is the currency of the brain. All thoughts, all beliefs, all actions are just electrical impulses. And so, TMS, we're actually able to get in there and influence the currency of the brain focally and non-invasively. The stronger the magnetic pulse, the deeper into the brain it goes. And by adjusting the pattern of the pulse, you can change the way that part of the brain functions. We can turn a part of the brain up or down or temporarily turn it off. It doesn't take a genius to see that it should be a pretty fertile way to begin to understand how. Surrounded by invisible electromagnetic radiation from microwaves, dishwashers, computers, televisions, power lines, wiring in the building to cell phones. They all produce electromagnetic radiation. You know what? Raise your hand if you own a cell phone. Now guess what? These days, every kid wants to have a cell phone, but cell phones give radiation, and if exposed to too much radiation, you may get a tumor or cancer. Did you know that nowadays kids start using cell phones as early as the age of 5? Now guess what happens to their brains when they use cell phones at such an early age? They get 5 times as much radiation than adults do. The reason it's easier for radiation to reach a kid's brain is because a kid's skull is thinner than an adult skull, which lets a lot more radiation to the brain of a child. When radiation goes through your body, it can kill cells, and if those cells don't heal properly, they might become cancer. Today, I want to give you some tips on how to protect yourself from this radiation. One way is to keep the phone 6 inches away from your face. Use a speakerphone or a headset. Also, it would be better if you could text as often as possible so you don't have the phone close to your face. Every time you're about to call someone, and I mean every time, make sure you're not in an area with weak network signal, because when the signal is weak, your phone will work a lot harder to get a better signal, and therefore, it will give out a lot more radiation. Also, never sleep with your cell phone, because when you're sleeping and the cell phone is near your head, it's going to be throwing radiation through your head all night long, and that's never good. Some people even say that when you have a cell phone close to your ear, it's like holding a mini microwave next to your face. We are still learning about the risks that
that cell phone radiation can cause. A lot more research still needs to be done. It's actually just like smoking. Many years ago, we never knew that it caused cancer. Till years later, researchers discovered that it did. The reality is that we live in a world full of technology. We can't escape it. It makes our lives a lot easier. But at the same time, we need to be smart about how we use it and make sure that we protect ourselves from these unnecessary risks that can harm us.
Phones, but just one bit of question. Does heavy cell phone use hurt human health? Lindsay Davis reports on a major new study which for the first time shows cell phones do seem to have some mysterious effect on the brain.
Some are calling the study a landmark event in our understanding of how cell phones affect the human body. 47 participants had cell phones placed on their left and right ears. One cell phone was activated but muted, the other was turned off. After 50 minutes, the researchers took PET scans of the subjects. Look at what they found. The image on the left shows what happened when the cell phone was turned on. The most active areas are in red. Notice the upper right part of the brain. That's the area closest to the antenna. Compare that with this image on the right of the same subject when they had their cell phones turned off. The researchers were hoping to determine if the radiation from the cell phones had any physiological impact at all.
I confess that after the findings, I changed my behavior. So now I use it on a speakerphone. I just put a wire on my earphone.
For years, studies have tried to link cell phones and cancer, but they've been inconclusive. Experts say this new study offers perhaps the first real step in the search for an answer.
This is a study that is interesting and will almost certainly provoke additional studies.
We have a responsibility to investigate whether there are or there are not long-lasting consequences from repeated stimulation after 5 or 10 years of cell phone exposure.
CTIA, the Wireless Trade Association, told us the leading global health organizations have overwhelmingly indicated that wireless devices are not a public health risk. Still, an editorial accompanying the study said that the findings warrant further investigation.
And it sure gets your attention.
Yes.
Thank you.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. Do you know who said that? President Ronald Reagan. Well, I am from the government. I lead a team of weapons innovators at the Air Force Research Lab, New Mexico, where I've worked for over 17 years. Prior to that, I spent 6 years on active duty, and I love our country. I married a patriot. He retired after serving 20 years on active duty, and he still works for the Air Force today. But the real reason why I do what I do is for my 2 patriotic children. That's Brad on the left and Cody on the right. And while I could talk to you all day long about why I do what I do, the real question is, why am I here at TEDx? I'm here because I need your help. You are perhaps more influential than you realize on how our military engages in conflict. Our morals, values, and ethics affect decisions made by our commanders in the field every day. I want you to be familiar with the technologies we're developing for them so that you can support them in the decisions that they have to make. I mentioned that I lead a team of weapons innovators. We make directed energy systems useful for national defense. But wait, what's directed energy? You probably recall that when I hold this pen in the air, I give it potential energy. And you can't see if there's an X up here. I've even got a target. When I drop it, it has kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is what weapons have used for literally hundreds of thousands of years. Spears and rocks have evolved into bullets, bombs, and ballistic and cruise missiles, but they all use that same basic kinetic technology. Directed energy harnesses energy from across the electromagnetic spectrum and focuses it into a useful beam. Lasers are directed energy systems. Lasers, like the pointer in my hand, are useful for bringing your attention to the awesome artwork behind us. I feel like someone's staring at me. Astronomers use pointers just like this one to point out constellations in the night sky. Heck, some of you probably find directed energy useful for entertaining your pets. Lasers are so cool. They are the stuff of Star Trek and Star Wars, and I'm guessing you're probably pretty comfortable with this technology. And while it's a large part of what we do at Air Force Research Lab, it's not what I work on. The team I lead develops high-power microwave weapons. Yeah. I don't mean that we're trying to figure out better ways of throwing ovens out of aircraft doors, because that's back to kinetic. We investigate different frequencies on various items. And microwaves particularly are defined as frequencies with wavelengths ranging all the way from 1 meter down to 1 millimeter. And there are different effects on different things, but today I'm going to focus on just one, and that's the counter-electronic effect. You know that microwaves are fairly good at transferring energy into water-based things, like your food, over time. What you may not realize is that in thousandths of a second, those same microwaves are extremely good at disabling, disrupting, and if conditions are right, even destroying electronic circuits. All of this in half the time it takes you to blink your eyes. That super short time span is insufficient to affect a person, but it's more than enough time to affect electronics. I'm from a lab, and we love experiments. So here's an experiment for you. Go home, put a cup of water or your leftovers from last night in your microwave for 1 second. You'll find that 1 second is insufficient time to affect that item, just as it's insufficient time to affect a person. Now, if you really don't like your cell phone, maybe you're in the market for a new microwave, turn your cell phone on and put it in your microwave for 1 second. I really do not recommend you do this, but if you did, you would probably see your cell phone reset itself. You might have to pull it out and do a hard restart on it. It is extremely likely that you will never use that phone to connect to another Wi-Fi network ever again. That's the power of microwaves against electronics. As our world has evolved, electronics have become pivotal tools, and our adversaries are just as crippled when their computers or cell phones go down as you are. When you're in an airport, your flight's been delayed, you're frantically trying to make other arrangements, and your smartphone dies. But here's why this technology is really so important. On the 3rd of October of 2015, the U.S. Air Force was tasked with disabling a command and control headquarters belonging to the Taliban over in Afghanistan. Through a series of terribly unfortunate decisions, they identified this building as that headquarters. And 3 days later, this is what it looked like. The facility was actually a Doctors Without Borders hospital. And 42 people are reported to have been injured or killed in that attack. The team I lead is developing options. Allow me to share with you a video of a counter-electronic system in action. We call it CHAMP. And while the video you're going to see is sort of cartoonish, I assure you the system is very real. We developed it between a partnership of the Air Force Research Lab New Mexico, Sandia National Labs, Boeing, and Raytheon. And in 2012, we flew it over targets at the Utah Test and Training Range. The system worked exactly as we predicted it would. So in this video, you'll see that the Air Force has once again been tasked with disabling a command and control center, and this time we've added a chemical and biological weapons production plant, both located in a city. We choose to use a CHAMP-like weapon. You see a bomber fly in and drops off the cruise missile, which houses that high-power microwave system. The missile flies over the city and targets the command and control center, leaving it black, passes a hospital, and engages that weapons production plant. As the system flies off, the people are left to wonder, why have my communications stopped? Why did my computer stop working? How come I'm not producing my weapons? All of this without leaving a single smoking hole, without harming a single person. Stop our adversaries without harming a soul. Why aren't we using this? Well, there are a lot of challenges to adopting new technologies. I mean, let's face it, change is hard, right? Some of these systems can be kind of pricey, but we are working on ways to make them more affordable. A particular challenge for microwave weapons is, was it effective? I mean, when you leave a building in rubble, it's pretty easy to know that whatever was going on before in that building is probably not going on now. But when you do no damage, how can you tell? We're working on solutions to that too, and we will solve those problems. The problem that only you can solve is whether or not using these systems aligns with our morals, values, and ethics as a culture. Only you can decide, but I want you to know that these systems are not designed to maximize damage to the way our adversaries go about harming us and minimize damage to their person. I know that the morals, values, and ethics problem is real. Because in early 2000s, my organization developed a different technology. We called it active denial, and we chose a millimeter wave frequency because we want you to feel it. That system, the signal penetrates your skin to the depth of about 3 sheets of paper thick, no deeper, and it causes you to feel hot. The intent is to get people's attention and have them stop doing whatever it is they're doing. So I've got another experiment for you. Make a pizza. When you've preheated your oven to 450 or 500 degrees, and you go to pop that sucker in, you open up your oven door, and that wave of heat comes out and hits you in the face. Instinctively, you close your eyes and turn your head, and the feeling passes. Well, you've just basically felt the active denial beam. I know, because I've been hit by it. It is uncomfortable when you are in the beam. But the sensation stops as soon as you step out. Unfortunately, we have done an insufficient job of educating the public about that technology, and misperceptions about it have so far created an environment that has discouraged our commanders from choosing to use that technology operationally. But I ask you to think about whether or not it's more aligned with our morals to shoot guns at a car that's perhaps erratically approaching an entry control point, or is it more aligned with our values to make that driver so uncomfortable that they're no longer interested in heading toward that gate? Is it more moral to us to shoot bullets at protesters on our borders who are throwing rocks at our Border Patrol agents? Or maybe would active denial be a choice that's more aligned with our values? Only you can decide. But let's not allow active denial's fate to happen with our high-power microwave counter-electronic systems. Had the commander in Afghanistan had the choice to use a high-power microwave system, and had they still mistakenly identified that hospital as their target, 3 days later, the facility would have looked like this. And I guarantee you, 42 people would not have been injured or killed. President John Kennedy said, "I look forward to a great future for America. A future in which our country matches its military strength with our moral restraint, its wealth with our wisdom, its power with our purpose. I'm from the government, and I need your help. Use your power to create for our children the future to which President Kennedy and we all aspire."
felt like opening up an oven door, almost mixed with a sting from about my sternum to my neck. So like you started really feeling it on my neck before I had to kind of instinctually jump out of the way. Still works the same way. Yeah, it works. Picture like an invisible searchlight, right? You know what a searchlight looks like? So an invisible searchlight of radio waves going downrange. So it's this big when it starts, and at the end, it's the same size.
This is a military area. Move away from the perimeter. I say again, this is a military area. Move away from the perimeter.
There could be some perimeter incursions along an installation that you may have. There could be some crowd control where you're trying to make sure that you de-escalate the situation and kind of calm things down and break up these crowds before it gets out of control.
By a number of high-powered radio transmitters operating deep in the Soviet Union since July 4th, 1976. The official Defense Department explanation of the Woodpecker is that it is an over-the-horizon radar designed to track U.S. missile launches. Some scientists suspect that the Woodpecker is designed to interfere with human brain function.
As far as I'm concerned, the potential that this has for producing a direct psychoactive effect upon the Polish American population is there, has never been disproven.
Dr. Robert Becker is a pioneer in the field of bioeffects of electromagnetism.
The signal range within which the woodpecker operates is that which has been reported by many investigators to produce a tranquilizing effect upon animals.
We are just incredibly sensitive to these magnetic stimuli.
Dr. Bob Beck, a PhD in nuclear engineering, has done extensive research into electromagnetic effects on humans.
The signal was permeating power grids in the United States. It was being picked up by power lines, re-radiated. It was coming into the homes on the light circuits.
I'm surprised after coming here that the influence of electromagnetic fields was almost completely ignored here.
Dr. Larissa Valenskaya was heavily involved in Soviet electromagnetic research before being allowed to emigrate to the United States. She told CNN about Soviet research in electromagnetic effects.
They demonstrated theoretically and also demonstrated experimentally that low frequency, low energy electromagnetic fields also possess biological influence, biological efficiency, because any field not only carries energy but also carries information.
She stated that the research was carried out on orders from the Soviet government.
Of course, the military were extremely interested in this potential of remote influence.
Is the United States military working in the field of electronic mind control? Officially, the Department of Defense will not comment because the subject area is, quote, too sensitive. But CNN has learned from this government scientist, who did not want to be identified, that a Navy laboratory conducted research into the use of an RF device for counterterrorism and special operations.
It's possible to entrain a certain percentage of a population, apparently, with weak magnetic fields.
The study also showed that RF signals could dissolve certain types of rat brain cells at a distance, causing disorientation and nausea. According to the scientist, even though the program was successful, the government never followed up on it. Dr. James Frazier did electromagnetic research for the U.S. Air Force for many years. At one time, he proposed a battlefield RF weapon system.
You could make an antenna that would be carryable by a helicopter, and that this could be expected to produce a wide variety of symptoms, actually, for humans who happen to be standing in the beam.
According to Dr. Frazier, the Air Force never followed up. Lawrence Livermore Laboratory, another RF weapons concept, is nicknamed the Brain Bomb. According to the book Star Warriors, the Brain Bomb would focus a nuclear blast into a huge pulse of low-frequency RF energy that would stun huge numbers of troops. Apparently, it too has not yet been funded. The Department of Defense will not comment about Soviet RF weapons, or if American RF weapons development is going forward. However, experts interviewed by CNN say that the Soviets are apparently ahead and could exploit that lead in a surprise strategic move, a move that could have grave consequences for the United States. From Washington, this is Chuck DeCaro, CNN Special Assignments. This is a Tesla coil. It was invented some 90 years ago, but now a growing number of experts in the United States feel that it may form the basis of a new generation of Soviet weapons. They are known as radio frequency, or RF weapons, because they operate in the radio frequency spectrum. Their existence is noted in this U.S. Department of Defense publication, which says the Soviets could use them to destroy components of missiles, to interfere with radar and other electronic systems, and even to alter human mind functions. The concept of RF weaponry was predicted at the turn of the century by Nikola Tesla, an American who had emigrated from Yugoslavia. He is best remembered as the man who invented alternating current electricity. In 1899, Tesla built this giant coil which produced 10 million volts of artificial lightning. From it, he theorized the possibility of death rays. This and many other of his ideas about the physics of electricity were ridiculed by the scientific establishment.
Pure science is not a sure thing. You can't predict what's going to work out and what's not going to work out.
Robert Golka, a research scientist, built a replica of the Tesla coil about 80 years later. Golka was trying to produce a phenomenon known as ball lightning. He also used the Tesla coil to conduct testing for the U.S. Air Force.
What I was doing was setting in maybe 5-foot-long models of advanced fighter aircraft, and we would want to try to find out which part of the airplane was more vulnerable to lightning strikes, whether it was a wingtip or the canard where the pilot sat.
These experiments could also demonstrate the effect of the electromagnetic pulse of a nuclear blast, and Golka says the effect of RF weapons as well. Golka thinks that Tesla's theory that electromagnetic power could be transmitted through the Earth and its atmosphere without wires is a key element in the Soviet Union's work on RF weapons. Tesla's novel weapons theories were generally ignored in the United States. Nikola Tesla died in 1943. After the Second World War, all his papers and effects were shipped to his native Yugoslavia, where they were enshrined in a museum. Some museum proved to be a gold mine for Soviet weapons scientists.
We haven't even formally, so far as I know, to ourselves admitted these weapons exist in the hands of the Soviet Union.
Weapons analyst Tom Bearden, a retired U.S. Army lieutenant colonel, is among a small group of scientists and engineers who believe the Soviets have perfected Tesla's ideas and are developing radio frequency weapons on a scale unimagined in this country.
There have been a series of tests of these kinds of weapons, apparently, for a number of years. For example, airliners from Iran, before the fall of the Shah, saw deep within the Soviet Union very large, glowing spherical balls of light which started out small and then expanded to very large size, which are apparently these kinds of weapons for use in an anti-ballistic missile defense role.
Bearden believes that these satellite photographs are of mysterious non-nuclear explosions near an uninhabited island in the East Siberian Sea, and that they are discharges from an RF weapon that uses intersecting energy beams called scalars.
In doing so, you can create, for example, either an electromagnetic explosion at a distance, or you can create an electromagnetic implosion at a distance, the extraction of energy from a distant point. This would look like a cold explosion, so to speak. And I believe the thing on April the 9th, 1984, off the coast of Japan that involved several 747 jet airliners, I believe that incident was a test of a cold explosion weapon. At least it met all the characteristics.
Pilot Doug Happ was in one of the 5 airline crews that saw an incredibly large cloud rising from the moonlit overcast below.
It looked like a plate coming up through an overcast, but it just kept expanding. As it got higher, it was apparent that you could see right through the middle of it, so it looked like a big smoke ring. At the time that we first noticed this cloud, we
weren't sure what to do, and we took no evasive action because we didn't know which way to go. And I think eventually we either ran through it or it completely engulfed us.
App says when his flight reached Anchorage, Alaska, it was checked for radioactive contamination. None was found. Dr. James Frazier has done extensive research in electromagnetic effects for the U.S. Air Force.
It could be due to a strong electromagnetic beam, but we don't know that. They can also be caused by chance term gradients. We've had for several years studies of clear air turbulence, for instance, which have produced this kind of disruption. The people who cited those are experienced pilots and should have been familiar with that kind of event, and this apparently was something outside their experience.
There have been a number of times when Soviet technological surprise has upset the strategic balance. In 1948, the Soviets detonated an A-bomb years before it was thought possible. In 1957, the Soviets stunned the world by launching Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. And in 1976, the Soviets were discovered to have been embarked upon a program to build particle beam weapons, a discovery which led 5 years later to America's Star Wars program. In each case, the United States was able to regain the balance, but this time with radio frequency weapons, some scientists feel that the Soviet lead may be permanent. In my next report, how radio frequency devices can be used as weapons against the human mind. Chuck DeCaro, CNN, on special assignment.
And there we have it, guys. Let me get rid of that for you. We don't need that anymore. Welcome back, CT. Good to see you, my friend. 2 degrees. Fuck me, that is cold. That is cold. It's actually been quite warm here in Toronto today. It's about 17, 18 degrees earlier. Yeah, we know about your hurricane. Don't get blown away, Nancy. But yeah, it's quite warm today, and dare I say it, we might even be getting a 21-degree Saturday with some sunshine. If or not it is, I might get one last beach day in 2020, but I don't count on it. Weather manipulation and all that. So guys, how was that presentation? Nancy's in Louisiana, Megs, down there on the bayou. Good to see you as well, Fatty McButterpants. Yes, you do have a lot of stuff on this frequency, but how very strange, guys, that they shut YouTube down for a little while. Now, yesterday I couldn't even stream to YouTube when I was trying to do this multi-stream malarkey. Unfortunately, no one on Facebook's watching and no one on Twitch is watching today at the minute. I can't say I have, but I've heard of that for some reason. But all that I kind of tried to put in there has some kind of relevance in today's society with what is going on. And is this, you know, that's what I'm saying, are we under a war? The vaccines, the COVID, all this shit is a big distraction. And while so many people are behaving what seems erratically, the Manchurian Karens, as I've called them, you know, maybe the BLM, the no justice, no peace, social justice warriors kneeling. We're seeing, you know, Antifa on the rise, cracking skulls and going about their antics. Are they being controlled electromagnetically? And some of the stuff we talked about, you know, I've talked about in the course of this pandemic is, are we being controlled by depending on what certain platforms we use more than others? So for example, you know, if you're a Facebooker and you use Facebook more, have you been dragged into a certain line of mind control and frequency and behavioral patterns compared to if you were somebody that spent more time on Twitter? Are you seeing what I'm saying? My region is in red mode for 28 days. Is this to do with the Novid ATN? And they've been talking about a second wave. The mic's plugged in, Nancy. Can you see the mic there? Seriously, I think sometimes maybe it is more to do with your phone and hearing. It is a lot of shit. And I don't believe, you know, like I say, I think it isn't the mic. This is it. We're being, hey Martha, good to see you. I'm being censored, guys. This is how they censor. You've heard the expression, silence the truth. Every stream I've done in the last week that is contained material about the subject that we've been talking to, I have been shut down. And tonight, in the middle of when William was mentioning how deadly the lady wasn't saying, we all got shut down. And I don't even want to exaggerate, I'm not lying, please trust me guys, I don't fucking fabricate reality for you, but I got a headache going, like when it shut down for a little bit, the street, I started getting myself a headache. So audio issues are something I've never ever experienced until recently, and I've done absolutely nothing at all to change the way I record my videos. In fact, there's not really any option that I can have to change the audio levels on my phone. So sometimes when I record a video and upload it, all the stuff that's in that video was recorded off of the same microphone. Some of those videos, if it's music, it's loud. If I'm speaking, it's too quiet. If there's a buzz going on in the background now, that's not because I've added a buzz feature. I thought, you know, it'd be cool, let's put buzzing in it and that'll make it nice. And again, what we're talking about in regards to tonight's subject, guys, electromagnetic frequencies. If anyone was paying attention, maybe the reason you've got buzzing is because of what we're talking about. This is it, guys, this is what I'm talking. We are through the surface, down the rabbit hole, and dare I say it, let's not use the rabbit hole, we're in the fucking Death Star trench, right? We're there, and the port, all the exhaust port is at the head. We have to turn off our targeting computers, because our targeting computers are being manipulated and distracted, and that's why we're crashing into the side of the Death Star and fucking shooting each other down in friendly fire. We need to turn off our computers as much as we can. We need to be free from electromagnetic interference. And CT just said that the buzzing went away. What are we talking about, guys? What am I talking about? I'm not talking shit. I'm not imagining this stuff. I'm not, you know, I am a tinfoil hat conspiracy wearer type person. I wouldn't be giving this content if I didn't. I've spent many years researching this shit, and everything at the minute seems to be falling together in accordance to Project Bluebeam, and with stuff from fiction that's influenced me greatly, The Watchmen, false alien, psychic alien event. Also, rage-based zombie movies. Like, you know, if we were growing up back in the 80s, guys, zombies were like, rage. Suddenly, the 21st century, they put out zombie movies. They're fucking Usain Bolt. They can run super fast. They're all full of rage. They're all aggressive. Crimson Mist, Rwanda, 1993 people. They turned people below when they bombarded them with these microwaves into rage-based mindless zombies, tore each other apart, created a genocide. Now, are they about to do that to us, but under the guise of a fake alien invasion? And are they getting us all worked up and angry and mad at each other, poking the hotbed, you know, sparking it up to make the flames fuel? So again, within the Watchmen, at the point of the alien event, should I say, the world was about to destroy itself and rip it to shreds. The end of the world was nigh. And are they kind of simulating end of the world conditions with the COVID-19 to generate a crazed frenzy of panic worldwide? And are they, once the panic is, everybody's in that state of frenzy and panic and doesn't know what's going on, are they going to finally unleash their plans, whoosh, with their heat ray, as was a quote from War of the Worlds? H.G. Wells back in the 1800s wrote about heat rays wiping out tanks and submarines and buildings and stuff. And then we saw in those documentaries in from the 1980s how the technology that had been around a long time at the type of recording, which was 35 years ago, was not new. So this technology has been around probably for close to 100 or more years. At the minute, it has been, and you know how technology's got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. In Rwanda, when they probably had to have big Herculeses with these huge drone, you know, discs on them that bombarded it, what if they had hundreds and hundreds and thousands of tiny little insect type drones that just fly around the neighborhood, landing on plants? Nanotechnology exists. Fatty McMunch was talking about nano technology to me the other day, as was somebody else that was watching. I can't remember who it was now. Sorry, again, my mind's being fried, right? Your mind's being fried. Not many people talk about this. They did a whole test run on the city of Seattle. I also had rumors, or heard a rumor along the Seattle lines, because there's a big riot there. When was it? During one of the G20s or something. But a little while ago, also in Vancouver, there was a Stanley Cup game. It went to Game 7, and it was in Vancouver, and everyone thought Vancouver were going to win, and they didn't. And afterwards, they went on a big riot. Well, as a football hooligan, that's sort of like give and take. Like, you've lost a big game, fuck, we're going to kick off and fuck shit up. But I also heard that there might have been some of this being used and they need drills, they need dummy runs, they need to know if it can be perfected before they can carry it out on a grand scale. Little bit like on 9/11, we saw directed energy weaponry being used to turn the towers into dust. They needed to test it on an actual building to see if when they stage the alien invasion, they can use this technology to dissolve buildings in dust. Lebanon bombings, we heard where they were talking about some of these electromagnetic pulses create smoke rings. Remember the bombing in Lebanon? I forgot. I meant to put that into that presentation, because I did a little bit of footage about this. Right? Can you remember your guys back? That the big ring that come out. They're getting ready. They're getting ready. I believe you. I can show you how. Who are you talking to, Fatty? Nancy? I'm sure they're doing it here. People are so apathetic. And you're down under, right, Megs? Good day, Bonza. Get some shrimps on the Barbie. You and I belong together. Something forever. Home and Away I was trying to sing, but unbelievably I forgot the lyrics to that. And this is what I was talking about before we did the presentation. I'm forgetting shit, guys. I just simple shit that is like, sort of 5-year-old stuff. Going up to make a cup of coffee and forgetting to put the coffee in the pot. Going up to make another cup of coffee and forgetting to put the water in the pot. Going to take a piss and thinking, why did I come here? I haven't actually pissed myself or anything at the minute thing. Masked and dying. The masks are a distraction. The masks are the divide. And just back in Crimson Mist, they had the two opposing tribes. And before the sort of, the events that led up to the tribes getting upset and angry with each other, was used with agent provocateurs. And they, prior to this, it's created an air disaster which took out pretty much all the heads of state of that nation, which left the nation lawless. And although there was sort of a more modernized established government, there are still lots of tribes within Rwanda. So two separate sides of Rwanda were a little bit at conflict. But what the Americans did with their EMFs and Crimson Myth is they fucking slowly started to pout them and get them angry, fuel their anger up, hit one against one another, a little bit like maskers get upset with anti-maskers and vice versa. And when they were at the point of going at each other's throats, they made sure they did go at each other's throats, and some, by frying them in. And this is what I'm saying, I'm trying to decode reality with stuff that has actually happened. Technology and all this, this isn't radicalized science fiction stuff. This is real-time fact, right? It is going on. It's happened. They've used it. Did we think they created and used this money to create this technology just to use it once in Rwanda? Or was Rwanda the testing ground? They needed a large nation that no one really gives a fuck about, unless you're Rwandan. I don't mean that to be disrespectful. Every nation deserves to be given a fuck about, but Rwanda was the testing ground. Lower Manhattan on September the 11th was the testing ground. Oklahoma City was a testing ground. They've done testing. This is it. We're in it, guys. This is... I don't want to be dramatic. I don't want to be telling you, you've got to watch this video, you've got to share this video, but the information I'm trying to convey to you, I truly believe is going on. And if or not, having tried to inform you over the last few weeks of some of this, we've got an internet connection unstable signal coming up again now before me goes. Take care, CT. Always a pleasure to see you, brother. I'm going to try and message you, because I might do a little something. I've got a homemade 24 ration there that maybe we should send out as part of the attempted Northern Ration Review Challenge we put together in thought way back in the year. But anyway, take care, good to see you. But anyway, bear with me, I'll go and get Fatty's channel for you if you want to go subscribe to her. And also, another thing that I'm kind of finding now, that like my chest feels a little bit, you know, when you get that anxiety in a little bit afraid, fearful, and that is something that happened to me yesterday as well. So wait, hold on to your knickers, Martha. For those of you, oh, there you go, ATN was on it before me. Good job, ATN. There it is. Megs, you got a channel too. And as I said, this is probably some of the most important creations I've ever put together. And that's why I'm saying, like, am I being targeted? Is this why people, you know, yesterday I couldn't go live on YouTube? Is this why nobody's watching on Facebook and nobody's watching on Twitch right now? You know, bear in mind, on my Facebook I got over 300 or something friends that follow me because I'm a YouTuber. The buzzing, the volume issues, the streams cutting out twice on Sunday when I was doing the Bluebeam streams, both of those got shut down. The first time was the most bizarre thing I've seen, because it literally just boom, my phone just went back to the home screen. Then as I was kind of, wait, what's going on, looking around, you know, check the stream, as I said, guys, this is my little setup. That's Facebook. You can see we're all glitchy and pixelated over there. That's how I keep an eye on your comments on YouTube. Here I am, and there's a little background. But what happened was, as I said, the stream popped me back to my home screen. The Chromecast that I used to cast the screen to, that shut down, and then my computer just turned off, and then 5 minutes later it turned back on. And you guys were all here, you heard the buzzing, then the buzzing went. You were here when the stream got shut down, and thanks for sticking around even though we weren't there. And that was it, you know, that was our sort of moment. Oh my god, we're in this together, we are close. This is evidence, at least, of what I'm telling you. And even now, I kind of, my mind's like, I can't think of what to say next. Am I getting a little bit of an extra dose? Does my little artificial intelligent friend here, is it like, fuck, he's talking about shit he doesn't want to get out, start turning the frequency up? Now Megs, you were talking about you've got an EMF frequency, and both Fatty and Megs left some amazing comment and interaction. Sometimes, you know, guys, when I say leave comments below, these are the sort of comments in information that I'm looking for, because not one eyes can see. I've been seeing an awful lot, and I've been trying to show you guys what I've been seeing in amongst the fun and other shenanigans on here. But at a minute we've got to get serious, because it ain't a theory anymore, it's happening. Alright, and share if you agree. Sorry guys, can I get an amen? I'm doing some of the meme psychological tactics that try to implant in your mind. And another thing I've kind of been doing this week on my thrift store prepper Facebook is just putting up very bizarre random memes to see if even anybody is paying attention to them. Did I see, oh no, I thought Smitty popped in. Now I'm seeing things that aren't even there. I swear to god I just saw Smitty. So as I said, guys, once upon a time we started at very humble roots, and just to sort of get off topic of the electromagnetic pulses and stuff, because maybe we probably need a little bit of break from that shit. But I've been putting a lot of information out there this week, guys, and putting a lot of effort and time putting these presentations out there. And if or not you agree or think this information is important or relevant, then the information ends with you. Up to you if you feel that you want to share it, right? But this information is definitely close to a target, I believe. it is and it isn't. Right now, I don't got $130. I've still been out of work for quite some time. I am sort of kind of staying in a little bit of a flow. I am in a very, very strange, bizarre state of limbo and transition. I've got a lot going on in terms of inheritances, and as a result of my father's passing a little while ago, that may or may not see me having to no longer kind of struggle and be such of a thrift store prepper. But I don't think I'm going to be erecting the Trump type towers or anything as much as that, but it will be you know, not such hardship as things possibly have been for me for the last 10 or 12 years living as a thrift store prepper. And this is kind of a little bit what the channel is all about, and what I was going to sort of get away from tonight's topics and maybe sort of just have a little bit of fun in interactions. This will be a little bit social, but Fadi was sort of telling me that she just records videos and shares her thoughts and opinions, and kind of that is really a little bit how I started, except I sort of just made very simple videos of me putting cans of beans and packets of ramen into the pantry that I've got just behind me, which if I could turn the lights on without going upstairs I would. Well, as I said, a lot of people seem to sort of only like to watch a lot of the prepper videos, but being a prepper isn't just about putting beans and ramen in a car, in a bag. And you know, if I did that each and every week, you know, sooner or later you should be able to figure out, hey, you know what, let's put some beans and ramen away. And I've got over 50-60 prepper videos on my channel, on my playlist, which are all still as relevant as today as they were at the day I've done. You know, this is kind of a little bit of the thrift store. You never know what you're going to get, and when you go to a thrift store you have to rummage around. Many people in our, you know, in today's society are kind of programmed, and we talked about this the other day, that, you know, we're doing this and doing this. What we don't do when we go, you know, when we open YouTube, for example, let me open YouTube. This is probably what we do. Go to YouTube, and then we just start scrolling on the home screen. But here, if you look at the very bottom, it says subscriptions. So when I go to, I open up YouTube, I click the subscription section, and then in the subscription section, I see who I subscribe to its latest videos, and not like when I go to the home screen, YouTube is suggesting the content for me. So, you know, little tips and things like this in your behavioral patterns are things that will change your daily habits. But as I was saying, Martha, in terms of prepper tips, there is a whole playlist, and there are many playlists, and that's what I'm kind of telling you about the thrift store. That when you come to my channel, don't just look for the latest video that I've uploaded. Go to the playlist section. Same with Fatty's channel. She's got playlists where she's compiled a lot of material and content that is relevant to a certain topic. You know, if you want to go and watch a series of videos how to put together a bug out bag at Dollarama, well, there's one of those on my channel. Go find it, have a little look. In some you know, Maiden was saying, are you going to put links in the description earlier? Well, no one's given me links. I mean, I'm not saying no one, because a couple of you have shared links with me, but when I do a lot of my research, I ain't got no links to work with. I have to think of things, and I type stuff in until, you know, cell phone mind control. If anything comes up, then that starts the investigation. And that's what I'm saying. I'm also not prepping at the minute, and the reason I'm not prepping is because I prepped for situations like this. I'm kind of living by my lessons, you know, and this is something I say, I've earned the right to talk my talk because I've walked the walk that is taught me the dialogue, right? And all the months prior to the COVID, I did a prepping video every week, almost religiously. Sometimes there was maybe 2 weeks where I didn't do it, but I did that religiously because I had a little bit of cash. I was working at the time, and that was the point of being, you know, a prepper, that when you've got the cash and the availability to do it, do it. And I stockpiled all this food, and I said, you know, you never know what's coming, what eventuality you may encounter. It might be because you fall down the stairs and twist your ankle and you're out of work for a few months. So, you know, if you've got some food stacked away, then that's a bill you haven't got to worry about in that eventuality. Maybe you might find yourself out of work, and you don't know until you get your next job. At least if you've got a little bit of food, another bill you don't have to worry about, or you know, having to feed yourself when you've got no income. That's a very difficult thing to do. You know, there are food banks in soup kitchens and stuff, but still, you know, food is an essential thing to human existence. Having food on hand is a smart thing to do. But I've been out of work for nearly 7 months now. In 7 months I haven't had to buy food because I prepped. So, you know, I've done like sort of refreshers. You know, this is what my pantry is looking around at the minute, but I'm not prepping at the minute because I'm not in a position to prep. I don't got any income coming in right now to be able to have this disposable income, and that was the reason I prepped, because this eventuality might come to serve or come to be, and it has come to be, and it is still continue to be. I don't know if or not I'm ever going to get a job again in Toronto in the sort of period of time that I'm going to be here. So that's it. So hopefully my pantry will sort of last until I'm in a position where I can relocate and restock. Yeah, and this is true, you know, even growing up as a kid, my aunts used to have a pantry, and one of the treats that I used to like going to my aunt's house was she'd take me to the pantry and she'd let me choose something. Sometimes it'd be some crackers or some jam, because she used to have all these little nice cute. She used to work silver spoon sort of service like the old style maids, and she also had like the little pots of like jam that you'd get like at hotels maybe, or like sometimes when you go to a fancy restaurant for afternoon tea, you get a little pot of jam on your plate. She had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them stacked that she used to bring home from work because they were free. But people prepped back then, you know. Look at the Amish, they don't have any technology, they prepare and put stuff away like that. But yeah, you know, I'm not stopped being a prepper. I just, the content I try to make is real. And a couple of people said, well, why don't you just throw some stuff in a bag, you know, and pretend you did a prep? Because, you know, I do feel a little bit bad. A lot of you signed up because I had thrifty prepping tips, but hopefully some of you guys who have been around for a long time, and like yourself, Martha, who've watched all my videos, you've learnt those thrifty prepping tips. You know, I don't really prep any differently to that. I just keep it very simple or sensy. Just get basic foods that are almost pretty ready to eat, and food that doesn't need the great amount of water in order to produce, because water and energy and all this stuff are things that may be short of supply. But as I said, guys, you know, I do have a playlist, and that's something I kind of, whenever I go to other YouTube channels, usually the first thing I do is check out their playlists, and I look at their playlists and get an idea of where they're coming from and where their mind's at, based on what their playlists are about. And some, you know, guys, I've had over 200 videos removed that either YouTube come after or I kind of removed in efforts to protect this channel when I was on a code red. You know, we were very, very close to being shut down at one point on this channel because of possibly some of the content I've been talking about. And a lot of stuff I've been talking about has come to be. The first video I put up this year, 2020, the time to prep is now. It's got over 2,000 views. It's my most watched video. I don't get views, I'm not in this to be viral. Some of you guys, as I said, have learned some tips and some habits as a result of watching my channel, and that's great. But I feel personally that some of the information that I bring to you, like I have tonight in the last few days, is probably far more important and valuable than telling you that you should probably go and get some ramen and beans from the dollar store, and the more that you've got, the longer you can keep it there. But, you know, putting stuff in bags and, hey guys, look at me, I've just got back to this manufacturing reality, that's not real. And I don't want to deceive you guys. This is why I said, you know, you get reality when you come to the thrift store. This is as real as, that's all right, William, people do have lives and stuff, you know. I really don't expect everybody to kind of drop everything to watch this, and nobody is obligated by any means to do this. But in recent weeks, like many of us, I have been hurting, you know. I don't want to keep harping on, you know, I've lost my father. That has had a huge impact on me, you know. It's life changing in many, many ways. Those of you who have lost a parent or a loved one, it's, you know, you know what I'm talking about. On top of that, we're dealing with all of this kind of COVID shit, electromagnetic interferences. I haven't had an income for 7 months. Lots going on that are pushing me down. So sometimes, you know, maybe when we're down, we want to feel better about something, and sometimes, you know, like I say, I do put a little bit of effort and energy into these, and it's to distract me, and it's to stop me kind of being bombarded or whatever. You know, I kind of get my groove on and sort of get zone out, put in the editing. I'm really enjoying it, actually. When I first started back to sort of having a very simple channel, I tried to sort of make a little basic intro, and it took me about like 4 hours to make this little 15-second thing, and it was shit. And this is kind of where shit video productions kind of stemmed from, as well as the fact that my dad, bless his soul, one with the force as he is now, always used to tell me, you can't polish a turd, son. And maybe I've been wasting my time trying to polish the turd that is the Thrift Store Prepper channel, by trying to put these presentations and trying to make it a little bit more presentable, I guess, or maybe a little bit more entertaining. And sort of when I kind of do all that, put it out, and I stream to 2 viewers, and then look and see it didn't get any shares, and maybe only got 32 views. You know, that's not necessarily because it's anyone's fault. Maybe they didn't get notified, maybe they didn't see it, maybe, as you know, a lot of people were upset, like, he just doesn't talk about prepping anymore, I don't care what he's got to say. And maybe the people that just watched because they liked how I sound when I say stuff, yeah, I'm over the accent now. And something I've always encountered and faced a little bit in my time I'm very aware of the accent factor, but I never thought it would be a factor when I did YouTube. But I have a lot of experience in the 12 or so years that I've lived in North America from what I call the accent factor. And some of those accent factor experiences we love the accent's all we love. Do you know what I'm saying, guys? And I want to be more than an accent, and that's what I'm saying. I sort of put my mind in this to try and share some information that might help you do a little bit of research and looking down rabbit holes of your own. And this is a little bit of how we've all been dumbed down, because we've become so used to being spoon-fed stuff, so used to people putting links in the description and making things shareable for us, that we've forgotten how to act on ourselves. And even the practicing of prepping is something that humans don't do anymore. People in this day and age in society are more inclined to get Uber Eats or skip the dishes, or only have enough food for that night's supper, if that, you know. And then in the morning, oh my god, order Starbucks, we've got nothing to eat. And this is by design, this is the target. And even sort of going back to stuff that we've talked about over the period of the course of this channel, the rise of the beta males. Beta males are something that I've pointed out and made reference to and done videos about in their entirety. That why are there so many beta males all of a sudden? Why do we see these little sort of pissant guys that don't look as though they can piss standing up, and don't look as though they can wipe their own ass? And why are they all getting with cute little Asian manga girls? Because this is by design. The pan-Asian culture, Asian people, certainly Chinese people, are very easy or very susceptible to be dominated. Just look at the way China's run, right? You know, they had population control, one-child stuff, all that stuff. China is very, very rigid, and the Chinese people kind of are very compliant as a culture to government advice. So get beta males that are just, I'm so happy a real live girl likes me, and it's even better, it's an Asian girl, just like the manga videos I jerk off to nightly. Now I've got a real live manga girl. He's never leaving that girl, right? And he's not going to have the will, or, you know, he's not going to want a gun. He's going to be eating fucking Beyond Meat burgers. He's going to fucking give himself a hernia if he farts. He's going to be so weak. And testosterone is being attacked with soy products. It's being put into all these Beyond Meat burgers, just like, you know, the Soylent Green, a plant-based protein. And these products contain human embryonic fetal matter that they use as a coloring, and this all is being incorporated into the dumbing down of society. And even, you know, the beta males and the hipsters. Where did hipsters come from? This is mimetic behavior. Men started seeing guys with ridiculous beards, glasses, and pants that were far too small and short and tight for them, and to sort of having the most modern technology with the oldie worldy look, and it was just bizarre. Men never thought like that before. How and why did suddenly overnight every man start looking like this? Do you know what I'm saying? And it is by design. It's target. It's all falling into place now that people have been electromagnetically influenced, and they have been reprogrammed in accordance to the desire. And this is a little bit like the Brave New World. If you remember Huxley's Brave New World, there were 5 levels of society: the alphas, the betas, the deltas, the omegas, and then I can't remember what the bottoms were called. It wasn't Eloy or something. But we're being bred like this. And the other thing they did in A Brave New World is babies weren't born naturally. Like, people had sex all the time, but no one was getting pregnant because they removed the reproductive organ, or they rendered the reproductive organ useless. But children were generated in a lab, just like they were in Logan's Run. Logan's Run and Huxley's Brave New World are very, very close, and I'm almost thinking that we're maybe not going so much Soylent Green, but we might be going more Logan's Run. But what they did in A Brave New World is the children, in reference to what we heard today, how children are subjectable to the EMFs because they have thinner skulls and stuff. They used to put them on electric mats, and within their sort of like nursery, the floor was all electrified floors, electromagnetic frequencies. And if children ever went close to a book, or they went close to a plant, they went close to another human being, they were zapped. So they were so they didn't want to go. They started putting them, so they were isolated. What are we being told in today's time? Self-isolate, quarantine, 6 meters apart. Why are we 6 feet apart? Because the frequencies won't get jammed in other people's. The other person won't interpret or be targeted with our desired. This is why we're 6 feet apart, guys. Are we through the looking glass? Is anybody here now with me? Is anybody getting that? Fuck, it all makes sense. I really hope so, because I'm not saying I'm seeing the Matrix, but I'm seeing the Matrix, guys, and the evidence of the censorship, the streams being shut down. You know what they say. When you're close to the target, they will do everything they can to shut you up. How long have we been going on for tonight? I don't even know. It's got to be about an hour and 30 minutes or something, right? Or a couple of hours. My son is only 23. I spoke to him last night and told him I'm just happy to have lived long enough for him to realise that I'm not crazy, because everyone's seeing what's going on now. And you're right, and this does sound crazy, and sort of trying to express to people, listen, you know, you, me, everybody around you, we've become addicted to dopamine, and this is stuff we've been talking about in these, you know, I want to keep repeating content I've already done, but understanding the dopamine effect, and understand that we have been inadvertently bombarded, you know, just like a drug dealer. They give you all the free crack or heroin or smack until you're hooked, and then, yeah, you know what, you're gonna have to start paying for it. And that's what they do with us with these stupid little Candy Crush apps and King of the Hill, not King of the Hill, King of the Clashes, or whatever it's called. You know, you play it so far and they fill you full of dopamine, like, and then and your dopamine, and all of a sudden you get to a stage that you can't get past, and all that dopamine crashes, and then you're desperate for it. And you know, that's what I was saying earlier, that my dopamine's been taken away. I get my dopamine from the sun, and I do get very, very little virtual stimulation. I try to keep it a little bit to a minimum. Now, something we heard in that presentation about, you know, we're trying to give you guys a little bit of advice now how to possibly combat the headaches, combat the ringing in your ears, try and limit the amount of electromagnetic frequencies they're in. Like at night, turn the TV off, don't use the remote, actually turn it off. Turn your phone off at night. Shut it down before you go to bed. If you have, I'm going to start doing this now, I have my Mylar weed baggies. If you have a Mylar bag, sometimes, you know, we show you that your food comes in these things, right? Save them, you know, stuff you buy at the store comes in bags like this. Save one, you know what? It's a Mylar bag, it's like an EMP shield. It will keep the frequencies away. So, in the night, in the bag you go. If or not it makes a difference, who knows? We'll come back in a week and find out. But, you know, really and truly, I only kind of spend my habits, Facebook in that little sort of part of my day, is a little part of my day in the morning when I wake up and I drink my coffee. So, you know, I wake up, scratch my ass, take a piss, put the coffee on, roll a fatty, and then while I drink my coffee and get my smoke on and get myself to a level where I'm sort of almost ready to face the day and what the world might throw at me, I kind of put my cell phone down, and then, you know, when I used to work, people say, why don't you bring your phone online with you? When I used to work in the kitchen, and I always used to leave my phone in my bag. If I go to the grocery store, or if I go to get like smokes from the convenience store, I don't take my phone with me, I leave it at home. But turn your phone off at night, keep it quite a distance away from where you sleep. You know, if you sort of have a dresser at the end of your room, leave it on there. Stop keeping it by the side of your bed. Stop keeping it in your pocket and on your person. Stop sticking it in there, and especially stop sticking, some girls like to stick it down between their tatties, stuff like that. Stop keeping your phone on your person. Another thing I kind of have here is a little bit of a mat. I don't know if that helps or anything, but trying to get that to absorb a little bit. I put my phone on the mat. I don't know why, or I've not seen or had any evidence for that, but that's it. Yeah, you can, and that's why in the little presentation I put Chuck from Better Call Saul. He had an EMF sensitivity, and if you remember, he was forever under a space blanket. And unfortunately, I used all my space blankets as tanning mats over the summer, because that's another purpose. Another little prepping tip for you: a space blanket also is a tanning mat, although I don't know if that is prepping or not. I take care of myself about as best as I can, which isn't really taking care of myself at all, probably. And I am a lone wolf. I don't have anyone to sort of come in, sort of, hey, you want something to eat, you want a bite, you know, a cup of coffee. I have to do it all myself, and if I don't feel like doing it, then sometimes it ends up not happening. And you know, I've yet to eat anything today, to be quite honest. Not that I like doing this, but I am gonna, because as I said, I haven't had a job for a little while. I will pass the tip jar around. Bear with me a second while I get the link for that. Has anyone else got channels that need people to subscribe to? If you do, let us know and we'll get that sorted out. So we're over I feel I'm over the target, guys. I'm going to try and put a video out Friday. I probably need a little bit of a rest from doing this tomorrow, but I might start working on something for Friday night. And maybe we might have a nostalgia night. Just forget about truth, forget about prepping. I don't know. It depends if or not. Someone had a slip of the thumb there, William, I'm guessing. My immediate family all preps, and yeah, you know, and as I said, guys, I don't want to sort of let you down because there isn't the same prepping content at the minute. I told you to prep because there was impending doom and it was important to prep, and those of you that didn't have much money at the time, this is how you can do it. I've done that and I prepped. We're in the situation that we needed to be prepping for now. If you weren't prepped now, I mean, there still is time. Don't say and give up prepping. Do whatever it is you need to do to prep. If you do need prepping tips, check out my playlist. But guys, we are in the shit hitting the fan. That is what we have to realize. Stop thinking and waiting that it's going to get better. And you know, while we've been home, we've had more time on our hands, so more people have started to and sometimes we don't even know we're just doing this, and this little bit kind of like, you know, when I smoke, part of the rolling process is all part of that, and that's what I talked about in mimetic mind control, the dopamine effect. That it's not just the intake, the dopamine starts kicking in when you know, so when you pull a handle with the slot machine, when you look at that's when it starts kicking in. Is this going to be the one? Look into Indian. Well, funny enough, I did actually spend a little while living with indigenous Aboriginal Canadians of the Ojibwe tribe, and I did go up to the up north a few times to stay on the reservation and meet with the elders, and actually went to a few sweat lodges with a lot of wisdom and knowledge. These guys, they lived a very simple life. They lived off the land. They lived in harmony, except with other tribes that they sometimes would clash with. But for most part, they lived off the land and they lived free. And it wasn't until white man got here with their fucking pollution of mines and hey, you know, you need a banking system here. Everybody needs a banking system. make flour from earthworms, and earthworms, pound for pound, have as much protein as beef, apparently, as do ants. Quite a few insects, in fact, do have a lot of protein content, and a lot of cultures will eat insects. I had insects when I was out in Thailand, and I know in Mexico you can get like suckers and candy that have insects in. So, but as I say, guys, I do feel a little bit, I don't want to feel as though I'm letting you down by not bringing out prepping tip videos and stuff like that, and maybe that's a reason people have stopped watching. I get it, I understand that, and that again is a little bit of the sort of desired narrative in model that YouTube tries to force down you when you watch tutorials about starting your own YouTube. Just talk about one thing, never ever mention anything else, and don't make your videos longer than 10 minutes. Make sure you make it one, keep them at, so when you watch a corporate YouTuber, they'll talk for about 3 or 4 minutes before they've even got to the topic. I do try to get straight to the point. The reason I'm putting intros on the start of the live show is because it gives people a little bit of time to get in place before we start it. And something I always found with live shows, that we'd start and we'd get into the thick of it, and then all of a sudden somebody would show up and we'd stop, lose train of thought, and maybe the thing that we were talking about got lost and forgotten, and we went off on a different train. And something I've noticed, guys, each and every stream I've done in these last 5 or 6 streams now, where we've got a little bit of a 4-minute 20-second video. This gives you a chance to go take a piss, go roll one, make yourself a cup of tea, get yourself in place, and say your hellos to everybody, and then when we start the show, hi guys, everybody's here, good to see you, who have you got, boom 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 boom, let's get on with the show, is my intent. But I did notice that for the last few people, when we joked, I'm trying to get funny now, is this the new Gusset Girl thing, that you all get together on your little WhatsApp? I've seen he puts intros in now. Let's not speak until the intro's over, and then you have to say our name, and we'll hear his name, hear his sexy cute accent, but then we won't watch anymore because I don't really want to be hearing what he's got to say. I'm just joking with you guys. Yeah, being in the country is good, and outside now, I kind of, although I lived in a town, it was kind of small town in England, and we were surrounded by farms, and we had an uncle. I don't really think was an uncle, I think it was just an individual that my mum was banging in hopes that he would write her into a will and give her the farm and Land Rover, but never happened. But we did have an uncle, as I said, that was a farmer, and I spent many a day running around on a farm climbing haystacks. I even milked a couple of cows when I was little, although not on my own. But outside is good, and although I sort of grew up in my teenage and 20s, I kind of liked going to big cities because I come from a small town. But in the last 10 years, I've lived into the largest cities on the planet Earth, Los Angeles and Toronto, and now with all what we've been talking about and all what is going on with the electromagnetic frequencies and all that shit, I think as far away from these as possible you can be, and hopefully maybe touch wood, things go smoothly with what I've got to take care of back in the UK. I might be able to relocate somewhere warm and be exactly where I want to be, and that is far away from civilization and possibly people as I possibly can. As I said, I do like being alone and do like the lone wolf lifestyle, and sometimes it is better to be unhappy on your own than have people that are around you making happy. Thank you, Fadi, I do appreciate that, and that's kind of what I said, guys, that we all have to be excellent to each other right now, more than ever, because we are being influenced in ways we probably never dreamed were even possible, and even in the wildest science fiction, we have probably scratched our head at the thought that might be so outlandish to be true, but it is true and it's happening, and the shit is hitting the fan. So I taught you to prepare leading up to this. Now we're in this. I'm trying to prepare your minds with what I feel is truly going on behind the cover and smokescreen of COVID-19. And these are all great things, but you know, again, if you do live in a big city, if you're someone that's not exactly on the best of paychecks, and you have to live in a very small studio or apartment, or even, you know, room rentals, that's kind of how I've lived in for the most of the time in these last 10 or so years, is just renting the cheapest room, as long as I got a bed, as long as I got somewhere I can take a shit and have a shower. That's all I really need. I don't need rooms that I don't sit in. Remember being on AOL and ASL? Not so much, and I didn't really. When I was married, my ex-wife wouldn't let me have social media or emails or stuff like that. You know, I kind of was getting beatified, to be quite honest with you, and ended up where I am now, I guess. But yeah, ASL, what was ASL? AOL was America Online, right? And again, at the time I was in the UK, so I don't think we really had AOL. But being excellent is the thing we need to do more than ever before I get too sidetracked. And you know, that was another time traveling movie that they had lots of beams and laser beam stuff going on in interdimensional travel, albeit different times, but all come out in the 80s, and that was a little bit. Does 1985 hold the key? That first little bit of CNN documentary in the presentation took place in 1985. Back to the Future took place in 1985. Weird Science, My Science Project, and The Watchmen all took place in 1985. Well, they're kind of the rebooted hippies, right? And funny enough, that back in the 60s, sort of, hipsters are a little bit of like an amalgamation of beatniks and hippies, right? And that's kind of what hipsters are, but they're sort of, they're the rebooted, remodeled version. You know, there's a lot of these people are on fentanyl, ketamine, and Molly, which is ecstasy. That is something that was pumped into teenagers in the 90s. Growing up in the UK, rave, speed, and ecstasy. A weekend didn't go by that you weren't popping pills and snorting fat lines. And Nancy, actually, bless her, she was saying earlier that in the sort of her days as a teenager, Woodstock, the Tavistock in Laurel Canyon Institute, modelled the whole hippie revolution and the psychedelics and the music. The Janis Joplins, the Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrisons, all of these people had CIA families, family members. They are all part of a think tank. The Beatles were the produce of Tavistock, and all of this was designed to reprogram 60s society. And those children of the 60s had us, the Gen Xers, or some of you are a little bit older, I must admit, than me, but a lot of us kind of grew up in Generation X, and we were targeted with all the movies that I've talked about, all the video games. We were the first generation to really be introduced to technology within our house, you know, home computers, video consoles, microwave ovens, and we are now in a society that is the result of that programming. It's been going on ever since. Even like Bill Haley in the Rockets from Rock Around the Clock Tonight, that was a design to disrupt the status quo of society at the time, because before Bill Haley it was all like waltzes and foxtrots and stuff. That was radical. That was like fucking Kurt Cobain singing Teen Spirit when Bill Haley came up. Nobody had ever heard about that, but now Bill Haley, you know what I'm saying? But all of this stuff, you know, this is how controlled our society is, in more than ever, because they've been leveling up to total control. So back then in the 60s, 70s and 80s, we still had a little bit of freedom of independent thought. Right now is our thoughts as independence as it once was, is your fault as independence as it once was. And again, this is why I'm putting together this stuff, so hopefully you can understand a little bit better about how you may be feeling, or how, you know, just the similarities of some of the effects that you're describing. Even right now, I've got a headache ever since the stream went down, and the whistling in my ears does seem a little bit louder. I don't know if that's, like, you know, psychosomatic, but it is happening, and I am kind of sort of struggling and stumbling a bit at the moment. But guys, as I said, this has been the last few days what I feel has been some of my most important messages or information that I've chose to share with you all. If or not you agree, and again, I don't want you to, yeah, you're right, I love you, you're great. I'm not looking for that. What I want more than anything in terms of some kind of support right now is just to know that the information that I'm sharing is at least resonating, and maybe you are a little bit open to the idea that maybe this is what is affecting your life right now. Is it a coincidence that so many people in our close circle are all in some kind of turmoil or trauma at the moment? All the time, Fatty, I actually do believe that we are in the simulation. And you know, I was talking about the DARPA murder hornets, and I spoke a lot about the insect allies in DARPA and their little getting up, you know, the things that they get up to. And then lo and behold, a very strange fucking bug literally lands at my feet, and almost some of the stuff I've been talking about, you know, prior to current events is almost kind of, are we writing our own future? And is this how powerful the sentient world simulation is, that it's collected all of our data and using the ability to change our minds? You know, is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? All of this stuff, guys, is relevant, and as I said, I feel that the dots are being connected and the pieces of the jigsaw are falling together. And you know, that's what I'm saying. To support in what I want now is maybe you guys go and start looking for